I'm Reverend Gerald Brown. I'm with the United African American Ministerial Action Council. And I want to say that I was moved by your presentation this evening. Likewise, this is the first time that I've seen your presentation. But I want to state that I have experienced every part of the presentation, from institutional to personally mediated racism to internalizing racism. If you didn't notice, I'm a black man. I'm a big black man living in America. When I walk into the elevator with a white woman, she clenches her purse. She doesn't know me as Reverend Gerald Brown. What she sees on the outside is a black man that society has labeled as a criminal, labeled as uneducated, labeled as everything that is negative. I wondered why I was on the panel this evening, like probably a lot of folks do. Why is the Reverend here? Well, my first place is to speak for God. And with God, there is no respect of person. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, whatever. God sees the person. But it's amazing that in America, the land of the free and the home of the brave, there's still 1.2 or 2.2 million people are incarcerated, and 1.2 million of those are African Americans. It's amazing in America that we still lead every major health disparity that's here. I'm not saying anything to anybody, that folks that you don't know. But I found myself as a black man in America who was offered some privilege, or at least I thought, to work at the White House, to carry a gun, to wear a a badge. And I found myself one evening driving home. And even though I did all this and I had all these things, when those blue lights showed up behind me, y'all ain't never experienced that. As big as I am, and as bad as I was, I got scared. My hands started shaking, my legs. I tried to remember everything that everyone had told me. Don't move too quickly. And even though I had all the credentials and the badge there, when the young man walked to the car, he said, "Do you have a gun in the car?" And I said, "Yes, I do." The next thing I heard was, "Driver, drop your keys out of the car." I said, "But I've got my permit with me. I've got everything here." "Drop your keys out of the car." The street was blocked off. The helicopters were over. Take 3 steps to the left. Interlock your hands behind your head. Take 3 steps back. Get on your knees. But I've got my permit. That affected my health right then and there. I could never see doing that to anyone else again. That's why when I retired from the military, I didn't want to go in law enforcement. Even though I have the greatest respect for law enforcement, I didn't want to go in law enforcement. I found that I had to tell my children now, both my 20-year-old son and my 17-year-old son, and now my girls, the same thing. When law enforcement comes to you, keep your hands where you can be seen. And my 17-year-old son said to me, "Dad, that's not fair." "Well, son, I want you to live But Dad, you told me that God was not respecter of person. God isn't a respecter of person. But that person that's looking at you right then and there might not know God. So when we look at this and we look at racism, racism has an effect on all of us. It has an effect on the person that has the badge. It has an effect on the person that's sitting there. It has an effect on all of society, and here we are talking about an action. What are we going to do next? Well, I came for more than a conversation tonight. I came for a strategy. My strategy is to interact with law enforcement, to talk with the chief, talk with the probation officer, to talk with those folks so that we can stop some of these situations that are going on in our community that continue to have us scared. If a person is in fear for their life, they can't go to school and study. Then we also have to face the internalized racism. The internalized racism that's said even tonight, as I sit here and I look at an audience full of people that said, you guys will never be successful. Why are you doing this on racism? Why are you churches working with Elizabeth? And why are you churches working with this person? You guys should walk out and not be there because they're not with this organization or that organization. Internalized racism that will come in and destroy us from the inside out. So tonight, I want to have a real conversation with a real audience to ask some hard questions. How do we move forward from this? Well, one of the things, I never say things without having a recommendation, and I want to go back to my old pastor. He said this: the first thing in order for us to move forward is that we must change our minds. We must change our minds on how we see God. That's everybody in here. God is no longer a cosmic bellhop to do our will. We must change our mind on how we see each other. I can't look at a white person or a Latino person or a Hispanic person and say I hate them, at the same time say I love God. Let me say that again, because I don't think nobody heard me. If you are looking at a white person, or you're looking at a Hispanic person, or you're looking at a Latino person, or you're looking at a person because he or she is undocumented, or whatever the case may be, and you say you hate that person, then you can't say you love God. I'm not going to my preaching voice. We must take a look at how we look at ourselves. Do you take a look at yourself and view yourself as having dignity and divinity? Were you made and created by God? Or do you believe that you evolved from an ape, from a tadpole? Black men, black women, white men, white women, we were created. We were created with dignity and divinity, each and every one of us. We should put out what we expect to get back. Thank you for your presentation. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. Thank you for allowing the spiritual interpretation that we are a trichotomy, that man is a trichotomy, both body, soul, and spirit. And unless we take care of all of them, all is going to fail. Thank you.